What's up, everybody, and welcome to the Comment Writers. We are a Kamen Rider review podcast. We are here to talk about Kamen Rider Gotchard episode 30 this week. I'm your host, Josh Meek, the Uber Geek. I'm joined as always by my good friend, Toby Tobes. How's it going, Toby?
Josh, we're still here. The Eclipse portal did not open. None of us were sucked into the universe.
Nope,
We're
did not
here
get
to
raptured.
record another episode. How wonderful for everybody.
We watched the eclipse from our house, and our neighbor across the street started playing an eclipse themed playlist that we were very upset that we didn't come up with the idea for beforehand. But he was playing such hits as "Ain't No Sunshine When She's Gone," uh, "Dark Side of the Moon." There was another really good one that he had too, but he had a whole playlist of moon and sun themed songs.
That's impressive that you even remembered those, or he thought of those, because the only one I thought of when you said the playlist was Total Eclipse of the Heart.
Yep, that was one he had too. Yep, that was
Okay.
that was the other.
Like if I was
That
gonna
was
make
the trio that I remembered.
yeah, if I was gonna make a playlist, I would think of that one off the top of my head, and aside from that, I would just have to I guess call it Spotify search, like sun or moon or eclipse.
Yeah.
Otherwise,
Yeah. I would do that one Hotelier spoken word intro where he says, "I see the moon and the moon sees me." I would put that on there. But that's just for me because I really like that. And everyone else would be like, "Why is this spoken word thing on here?" I don't know. Josh likes it.
yeah, I would definitely try to make mine either like completely screamy or completely pop punk, and everyone would be like, this is... but you wouldn't even
This
know.
is the
Just
worst.
like people, they'd be whining like, "You broke up with me, and now the moon's gone or the sun's gone." Blah blah blah. Like,
Totally.
get some woes in there.
We'll talk about the clips here in a second. But speaking of pop punk, I recently re-listened to a bunch of Yellow Card songs, and I forgot just how lame some of the Yellow Card songs are. Like musically, they're very good. But did you remember that Yellow Card has a song about 9/11?
That's one of my favorite songs.
Is it?
Believe the
Yeah.
last song on Ocean Avenue.
Yeah. That one had completely escaped my memory. Maybe I never really clued into what it was about when I was listening to it when I was younger. Um, but yeah, I don't know. Just a very sincere song about the heroes in 9/11 hits kind of different, years later.
So, as you know, I like to give you shit about things sometimes.
Sure.
I'm double checking the year first. So
I'm sure it came out like right away. I'm sure it was like in the fervor of things.
So it came out July of July of 03. So how old would you have been at that time?
Now I got to do math. Hang on. All right, so 2003. I was born in 1987, so I would have been 16.
Okay, I'm gonna give you a pass, I think,
Why?
because like the outro of that song is the recording of Giuliani's speech during 9/11.
Oh
Like
yeah.
there's a spoken word part like under the musical part. So if it didn't click until now, but you were 16 then, I'll give you the pass on that's why you didn't notice it as much. So you're
I
forgiven.
also realized, so in listening to Yellow Card, I realized that I didn't get to the end of that album very often. Like I would put it on to listen to a lot, and I don't think I made it to all the way to the end super often because I wasn't very familiar with that song either. Like I had heard it, but it wasn't, it wasn't Ocean Avenue for me. You know what I mean? um, but yeah, and then one of the other songs that I really like that they have as well that I also think is extremely cheesy is the whole song that's just about how cool your dad is.
Oh,
I
see,
like that
like,
song. I like that song a lot. It's one of my favorites, but like it's not exactly punk. That's all I'm saying.
yeah, see, they're very emotional boys.
They are.
They're talking about tragedy in the hometown or the homeland. They had a song about how cool he thought his dad was. See, I
Yeah.
respect all these songs. Like,
I can respect it. Yeah. It just wasn't what I remembered lyrically them to be. But yes, that was my finding, was that they are quite emotional boys.
I think it's
Um,
funny that you pick on the song that the Dad Yellow Card song is "Life of a Salesman." I
Yeah.
find it funny that you pick on that song, but anything with the Wonder Years or Aaron West that are about Wyatt or the other
Well,
son, you're like, "Oh, me and Soupy and the kid."
no. So it's funny. I thought that the dad song was really lame when I was 16 listening to that album, and I re-listening back to it. I specifically told my wife that night when I listened to that song, I was like, "Man, there's a Yellow Card song about being a dad that like really hits me way different than it used
Okay.
to." So now, like now, I think I liked it then as a kid too, when I was young listening to it, but I thought that it was cheesy. And now it fully hits me the same way that those other songs do. Of like, oh yeah, like this is kind of gonna make me cry a little bit. Now that I am a sappy emotional dad, yeah. There's a lot of stuff in media like that though now where when I was a kid listening to it, I would have rolled my eyes, and now it's like you look over at me and I'm watching the movie just crying. I'm watching the like the animated children's movie crying because they mentioned that dads are cool.
I see, like, I've done that forever. Like, that's like any I think had some sort of podcast in our lives together. Any familial thing, cartoon, real life, acting, movie, show, whatever, like, any of those things usually make me start to tear up,
Yeah,
like, almost all of it. Like, why like, the other day, when we watched the stupid video of, uh, this the Back On song. Why is
yeah,
the name
yeah, yeah.
escaping me right now? Kimmy Story. Like that, like, it's just a dumb any sort of relationshipy, family, friend-ish thing always just makes me sob like a baby. I'm very soft inside.
I'm there with you now. Yeah, got to get to the soft, fluffy center of Toby. That's what we're looking
Yeah.
for.
The
To
gooey nougat is just all
there,
loaded up in there.
there you go. Yeah. I prefer the almond free version of Toby, but if you want to get a little nutty, let's talk about the eclipse. Let's talk about our experience eclipsing. It was kind of cloudy for you.
It was extremely cloudy for me, where, like, I didn't even it got to the point that I didn't even really need the glasses. Like, it was sunny as shit. I think our totality time was, like, 3:15 in the afternoon.
Uh huh.
So we went outside at 2:15 just because, like, that was the whole time frame for us.
Yep.
So the sun was blazing, bright as shit, felt like summertime out, had the glasses on, looking at the sun, being like idiots. Uh, and up when, like, there's 15 minutes to go, all the clouds rolled in and covered the sun.
That
So,
sucks.
it basically eclipsed at that point. I sent put some pictures in the Patreon Discord of what I did see, and it was basically like I could see a sliver of the moon or the sun every once in a while. The one thing I did realize that I was telling the navigator about earlier was, like, when they always make jokes of like, oh, if someone ever blocks out the sun, the world's doomed. Everyone's gonna freeze to death. It's gonna be absurd and cold and everything else. And you always just kind of think it's like science fear mongering, like good sci-fi plot kind of bullshit thing.
Uh huh.
And I'll be honest with you, it was like 70 when the sun was out, and it felt like summer, and I thought I was getting burnt already.
Yep.
When the sun was actually blacked out in that half an hour gap, I swear the temperature dropped like 25 degrees.
Yep.
Like,
I
it was
think.
cold. I had to get a sweatshirt. I had to put jeans on. Like, I had to completely bundle up. And I was just laughing because it always seemed fake to me. And I was like, holy crap, like, the sun actually being covered for 15 minutes has drastically dropped the temperature on the earth. Like, this
Yeah.
is insane.
I had the exact same thought too, because same here. It was like super, super bright outside. We went outside right as the eclipse was starting, so we could watch like from the very beginning. And at the beginning, it was just like, my God, it's hot today. I'm not gonna be able to make it outside this whole time. And then in the totality when it was actually covered, and leading up to that, it was getting cooler. But especially like when it was completely covered, it was so much colder that I had the same thought of like, wow, just like a few minutes of the sun being blocked and we're this cold. Like clearly the sun's pretty important for our warmth. Who would have thought?
It was even more important than I ever would have thought. Because you would think, like, so I don't know shit about science, but you would think, like, since the sun is still up there and it always warms us up when it's there, I never would have directly correlated, like, it has to be seen and visible and shining on me for me to get the
Yeah.
warmth out of it. Then, like, okay, like, sure, the moon's in front of it, it's blocking it. but there's still heat coming off of it. Like, the heat is
Yeah.
just going around the moon, but it's not the case. It actually makes shit
N
cold.
now that you say that out loud, and I thought the exact same thing, it sounds stupid. We sound like dumb people, but,
I
yeah,
think
I thought
that's
the
well
same thing.
documented that I'm very dumb,
Yeah.
so it's fine.
I thought for sure that, yeah, like, just the sun's so big and so hot that, like, yeah, like, you put a little moon in front of it. I didn't feel like it would make that big of a deal, but no, it does. Yeah. We were very lucky. There were no clouds at all for us for the totality. Um, and man, that was wild. Like I kind of, we talked about it last week. Like I went into the eclipse kind of having the feeling like, I'll look at it, but like I don't know why you'd travel for it. um, but I think after seeing the like full on total eclipse, watching it get dark outside, seeing the like crazy ring around around the sun, like the whole look of it, um, watching the sun, like having the feeling that the sun was rising again, except the sun was already like in the middle of the sky. That was such a crazy experience. Like, I think I get why people would drive for these now. Like, like I totally would at least entertain the idea of traveling for one, if it was within driving distance. Again, it was good. Yeah, it was quite a wondrous experience.
Nature, hell of a thing.
It is, yeah. All the birds got real quiet too, because I heard going into it that all the birds would think it was like nighttime and would try to go to sleep and like kind of start to settle down, and they totally did. All the birds got super quiet, and then when the sun started to come back out, the birds started chirping as if they would in the morning.
Yeah,
So it was
ours
like,
were crazy the whole time. So, and again, it didn't get dark and like it got cloudy dark, but it didn't get like dark out dark. So
gotcha.
they were good. They were chirping and beeping away the whole time.
I will say, yeah, the difference between like 95% covered and like total covered was huge. So because I'd been through the like partially obscured eclipses before, and those were mostly like, okay, it's kind of neat, like I get it. But yeah, the total eclipse this time around was the thing that really wowed me more than anything else. But I did see one person, so a million people took photos, of course. You at least got a cool shot with like there was one like through the clouds that you took that was really cool. Uh,
That was the best I could do. Like
yeah,
I basically like the clouds would vaguely break every once in a while, and I was trying to like preemptively see like, oh, it looks a little thinner. It'll be here in like 30 seconds. So I know you're not supposed to like aim. You're not supposed to aim or zoom real cameras, like old
yeah,
school shutter cameras at an eclipse because it burns out, it, like overexposes, bounces around the mirrors inside, burns shit out.
yeah. The
Uh,
the sensor, yeah,
yeah, I didn't. I don't think you're supposed to do it through a cell phone. I think the rules are the
no,
same. I know like
yeah,
it's mostly digital zoom and not real zoom. So I would like take the pictures and think about it, and then I was like, am I breaking my camera? Like it's taking the picture a little bit slow, but I was like, fuck, I can always get a new camera or a new phone. What the hell that situation works out too.
So I didn't take any pictures at all during the eclipse because I was didn't want to break my brand new phone. Um, but as soon as the eclipse was over, I started getting like pictures from everybody that I knew. It felt like the guy I work with sent me like 13 pictures he took or something. I was like, man, I was there too, dog. I saw it.
And that
my
was
my
that was my main thing of like, yes, ours was blocked out, but with all the social media shit now, all you have to do is vaguely like you don't have to probably spell eclipse properly. You could just
yeah.
type like ECLPS, and there's probably 50 videos that are like 4K, super HD time lapse. And even though like we didn't get to see like the good one here, I wasn't worried about it. Like I know it was happening. It was kind of cool to like vaguely watch it. We can watch so many like better places do so many better versions of it that I didn't really care.
Yes.
I was like,
Yeah.
someone has a way better experience than I am, and they will share it with me. I'm sure. I'll live vicariously through that.
Yeah, my parents sent me pictures that they took, and it's like, I don't what do you want me to say? Like, you took picture. I mean, cool. I like, again, like I was there. The only and again, so the speaking of breaking the camera, like they were taking pictures like full on pointed at the sun before it was covered. So like they were taking pictures at like I don't know a 10% eclipse and stuff like that. It's like you're just pointing your camera at the sun and taking photos at this point, just full on sun. And I was like, wow, you're probably really lucky that you didn't bring your camera here.
And
But
our other genius idea was, so we had like the paper glasses, like the frame of the glasses were just like the paper ones you get cheap from a bunch of places. They're still
mhm,
ISO rated, so it was safe. And then we had heavy plastic ones that looked like actual sunglasses.
those were cool. Yeah, I
So
was
at one point,
jealous.
I thank you. So at one point, we're trying to figure out the best way to take a picture of the sun through the lenses of the sunglasses. So at one point, I ripped the paper frames apart so I could hold just like the plastic protective lens over my camera,
Uh-huh.
and then I put my glasses on my face. But then you're trying to like aim your camera at the sun while like looking at the sun, but not looking at the sun, and still trying to look at your camera, and like it was the most
Yeah.
convoluted, involved process of all time.
That was the like recommended way to take photos that I heard on the news was yeah, like you hold the lens up to over your camera lens and do it that way. Um, but even that I was like I feel like I'd want to tape it down at least just so I wouldn't like slip or something. I was probably being way too cautious in my head about it, but like I don't know, phones are expensive. I don't want to break it in this dumb way.
It's just one of those random
Uh,
things where like it seems like a good idea until you realize for you to see what you're doing, you also have to wear
you have
glasses,
to yeah
and
have
they're
to wear
not
glasses or
sunglasses.
just have to look at the sun. Yeah.
They're like blackout glasses. So you're just like
Yep.
you're pressing the button, you hope it's zoomed in, you hope it's focused. Take a picture of like the wall because you have no idea where you're actually aiming.
Yep. Uh, I did see one cool picture of all the picture because, like, really the eclipse pictures too, like, they don't really convey what it kind of is like in person for the most part. But I saw someone got a really cool framing of a photo. So they were in Indianapolis downtown, and if you don't know, there's a kind of a big roundabout downtown called Monument Circle. There's a big statue, and the statue is holding up kind of a flaming torch. So they framed the eclipse so that it was like a ring around the flaming torch of the statue. So it looked like the torch was glowing because of the eclipse. And it was the coolest picture of the eclipse that I saw like all day long. It was like that. Okay, that was worth taking a picture of.
Yeah, they
where,
won.
yeah, they definitely won. Everyone else is just like can't really tell where you are, can't tell what's going on. Yeah, that was a little better. But yeah, your plastic glasses. You sent me a picture, and I'm sitting over here like an idiot wearing my stupid paper glasses, and you're just like you're living in the future with your plastic glasses. I was
I
very
don't know.
jealous.
I don't know if you noticed. I wore the Tom DeLonge to the stars hat for the eclipse because I felt like it was the most fitting one to wear for that situation.
I liked it a lot. Yeah, I saw that, I noticed it, and I liked it. Yeah,
Just
very
in
very
case the
fitting.
aliens came, I wanted them to know I was friendly. We were ready.
Yep, here we go. I didn't. It wasn't that hard. I wondered how challenging it would be to teach my daughter to not look directly at the sun, but that turns out she's smart enough to not do that. So that's exciting. She kept her glasses on the whole time and only used her glasses when she was looking at the sun. So that was all good. Although we were outside for like the whole afternoon because of the eclipse, so she did start to get bored, and she started to get bored basically right in the middle of totality.
It's
So I think a little bit of the gravity of the event was a little lost on her, but we still had a good
all that matters. Josh,
time.
speaking of good times,
Uh-huh.
we have a Patreon. I don't know if you
We
know
do.
this.
I do. I'm aware.
And
Yeah.
the most important part of the Patreon that I want everyone to know about, if you sign up for it, you have 100% chance of getting to watch any special video that we make on there. And there's not a lot of guarantees in life, but 100% I've been told is like the best you can do.
It's my understanding that you can't beat 100%.
Yeah, some people make up fake numbers and they're like, "Oh, 110%, I'm giving it extra." That's
No,
literally
that works.
impossible.
Yeah.
Full of shit. But the only place that's not full of shit is our Patreon, where we do fun Kamen Rider and now Sentai and random other tokusatsu kind of things. That word's still hard
Where
for me. That word
yeah,
I'm never gonna be able to learn.
you got there though. You got through it. I'm proud of you. Um Maybe you can learn that one day in Duolingo. Maybe it'll come up.
That's the only way I can learn it. If that shows up in here, I'm gonna ace that lesson
You are. Where can people find this Patreon, Toby?
on the internet.
My God. Patreon.com/slash the comment writers. Also linked down in the description. Please check that out. As Toby said, you get access to our Discord. You get access to our bonus content where we're watching Sentai, we're watching Kamen Rider. You get to watch along with us. You get to hear us talking over. It's like Mystery Science Theater, but for tokusatsu. That's just $3. My God. Toby, you can't even buy a coffee at Starbucks for $3.
We're not playing this game again.
Toby,
I'm putting my foot down early on this one.
so you can't even get a burrito at Chipotle for $3.
There we go.
You can't even get
That's a
a
more
drink.
relatable.
I feel like Starbucks is related. You can't get a drink at Dunkin' Donuts for $3. There we go. Is that more relatable for you?
I think
It's a
so.
regional thing. Yeah. So yeah, check out the Patreon. We also, Toby, one of the ways that people can interact with us is the Discord. Another way that people can interact with us is our email address, which is cast@commonwritersucks.com. Once again, that is cast@commonwritersucks.com. We'd love for you to send us an email, as our friend Shade has done this time around. Shade actually sent us 2 emails because unfortunately he missed us by a day last week.
Oh no.
um, so Shade's catching us up on some of the details from the producer blogs for episodes 29 and 27. Nope, 29 and 30. That's how numbers work. That's the order that those numbers go in. Um, so one of the things I wanted to point out from the 29 producer blog that we didn't touch on last time is they talk a little bit about the idea behind the ghost episodes. And
Okay.
their exact wording here is main producer Minato wanted with this mini arc to create an opportunity for the viewers to be able to say, wasn't Gotchard that Kamen Rider series with that weird episode, the one with ghosts and some weird exorcist in 5, 10, or 15 years?
That you know what? That's a real vibe. That's
It
a real
worked.
plan. That's a real
Yeah.
vibe.
He feels that Heisei and Reiwa, Kamen Rider series, have a strong tendency to be serialized dramas, and so you tend to end up with a story that just progresses through the main plot, leaving no impression of each episode individually. Of course, it's still plenty fun when you're following it every week in real time, but after a year has passed, even though you still remember the characters, the impressions of each episode that weren't directly related to the main plot themselves start to fade. So they wanted to make episodes that stood out on their own, uh, for that little arc. And yeah, I think that was a I think that was a success. Then
So do you think so based off of that logic that we're using with that then, do you think when we get to the next series that we'll ever reference the ghost episode of Gotchard as a conversation point?
you and I like on here.
Yeah. Because like
I think
obviously
so.
they were going for a memorable moment here.
Yeah. Um. Yeah, I think I think in like 10, 15 years when we're talking about favorite series, I think I could totally see what it was being like. What was that weird series that had the ghost exorcist? Remember his legs were sticking up in the air? I feel like that's like totally a thing that I would remember.
Do you remember any specific thing like that from Geats?
From
Like
Geats.
it's not like a setup for a test or anything.
Yeah, the thing.
It's just an actual question. Like
Yeah, I guess in that vein of like weird things that stick out in my mind from Geats that aren't like plot points is one. I remember when Kawa pretended to be a tree, like he was like invisible and he was a tree. Uh, and then I remember turning people into like giant pineapples, like turning into people into fruit that were bombs. those are the those are the two like random off the wall things that just came to mind.
I respect that you can even remember things like that. Like you telling me about them, I remember. But if you would have asked me this question, I would have had no clue. So I'm hoping this ghost moment is cementing Gotchard in the annals of history here, where we can come back to this. But I think
Oh,
I think it's a fun reason to make that episode. I feel like no one's going to remember it.
maybe. I
That's
feel
all.
like
I was just
I'm
curious.
like that with most media where I will, it's nice doing this show actually because it does make me remember things more. Like the fact that I will watch an episode. So usually the process that I go through is like I'll watch the episode and then I'll go back through it, like not watching in full time, like regular speed, but I'll like skip back through it, make some notes, So I will like revisit an episode multiple times before we get to recording, and then of course we record, we talk about it. So like it feels like because we go through that whole process, like each thing that happens in these shows sticks with me more than it would have otherwise if I was just watching for fun. But in general, when I do watch things just for fun, I watch, I comprehend, and then I like flush the memory of what happened out of my brain. Which is why I end up rewatching things so often. Like if I like a TV series and I finish like if I finish like season 1 and then there's a long gap before season 2 comes out, I will often rewatch season 1 to then lead directly into season 2 because otherwise I would remember nothing about what happened in season 1. Uh which is maybe a problem with my brain. I don't know. But this is how I am.
Hey, we're all different.
We're all broken. Uh let's see. Shade also agrees with the producer's first point there about the ghost arc. Shade says the older writer shows tend to have a lot of random episodes like that that really stand out from memory and are fun to watch. I barely remember the detailed plot of 2/3 of the writer shows I've watched, but I specifically remember how Kamen Rider Kabuto had a two-parter episode where it's basically Kamen Rider Iron Chef. I appreciate all the classic Kamen Rider tropes Gotchard is trying to do, even if they don't nail all of them, like how Kamen Rider used to do. And then the um, my email fails to load here. Some also interesting tidbits here for the episode 30 producers blog. First up, I guess from a translation standpoint, as Shade points out, there are lots of new fun things that have been translated recently. There's a Kamen Rider Geeks Extra Kamen Rider Gazer little episode that got translated. I did watch that one. So if you remember Toby, the producer who would always be eating food from Geets, like the guy who was the producer and he became Gazer, Kamen Rider Gazer.
Vaguely.
Okay,
I vaguely
so
recall this situation.
so he dies. He gets shot in the main series, if you remember.
The nerdy kid, right?
Yeah, yeah, he's kind of nerdy. Yeah.
The one
Um,
that ate the sushi roll in front of the tower facing
yep,
north because it was good luck where the hell it was.
that's the one. That's the one. So he dies in the main series. He comes back because they introduce the fact that like, well, if you die in the past, you get to get reincarnated here unless you get erased here in the future. He lives in like future world. So the show is like basically um he's like regaining his memories after being reincarnated. So it's just a little bit like behind the scenes leading up to him staffing his first Grand Prix, so you get to meet like one of the navigators, like that was before the one
Sumi?
that we knew. Yeah. And you get to he has like a confrontation with one of the other producers and stuff. So it's a fun little episode, but the end of it leads into the other thing that is exciting that just got subtitled, which is the Kamen Rider V Cinema movie, which is Kamen Rider Geats Giamato Awakening. So the end of that, like I said, is supposedly will lead directly into Giamato Awakening, and you and I are planning on watching Giamato Awakening together next week. So
Ooh.
if you want to hear what Toby and I have to say about Giamato Awakening as we watch it, if you want to watch it with us, sign on up to the old Patreon that we mentioned before. Um, and yeah, so that's pretty exciting. I am excited to check that out because this is the one. If you remember, I think it had the like special buffa form in it that we saw pictures of like forever ago now. So hopefully is good. And also
Hopefully it
there's a
holds up.
Gotchard.
We're a whole person past now, so hopefully
We
this
are.
holds up.
I'm excited to see all the crew. I'm excited to see Kawa, Ace, Buffa. I'm excited to see everybody. And also there's a Gotchard Hyper Battle DVD that has been released and will hopefully be subbed soon. So lots of like tangential media that's coming out for these shows right now. And let's see. One thing about the producers blog for this episode that I want to point out, you might not have known, Toby, is do you remember from this episode the two comedians that were here from the Comedy Research Society?
I do. It was
Okay.
one of my many notes.
So those two guys, if they looked familiar at all to you, it would be because they are two cast members from the Sentai Don Brothers.
They did
So
not,
that
but I'm sure you and others were aware of who they were, so that's fun.
yeah, which yeah, I thought was pretty cool. I recognized them in the show, but didn't watch enough Don Brothers to pick this out. But what they were making jokes about was also like stuff that happened in Don Brothers too, which is pretty great.
So they're
uh,
going deep with the meta.
yep, deep with the meta. So yeah, I think we'll skip over some of the other notes and stuff here, but I thought that was a pretty good one. Also, Spanner celebrated his birthday during the filming of this episode, so happy happy late birthday now to Spanner. Toby, with that, let's jump into discussing this episode.
Let's.
As I said, this is Kamen Rider Gotchard episode 30. Really, Toby, this is, oh yeah, these people are supposed to be in high school. That's what this episode's all
There
about.
was there was many nonsense moments today or the other day in this fine series. Uh I feel like them going, "Wow, it's senior year. Oh man, we're back." Like this again should have been the start of the actual mid-season break. Like I've made I'm gonna call it a joke, but I've made this statement a couple times now. They've kind of like stopped and restarted the show a couple times. Like they've changed paths or branches as things have progressed here. And this would have been the good episode, like instead of the ghost break, I guess. Like this would have been the best one to do after they defeated the Gold Man and been like, "Hey, we're going back to school. It's senior year, new break,
Yeah.
new show." But like they keep like the school part doesn't really matter for most of it, other than how it ties into today's episode kind of thing. But I feel like they just keep restarting the show over and over now.
I did read, I think in one of these producer blogs here, I was trying to find the exact quote. Um, was that yeah, like the new Smith here it is. Um, Alchemy and high school students are supposed to be the two main pillars of Gotchard, but as we've all seen, they clearly haven't been going to school lately. Seeing that, Keiichi Hasagawa came up with the idea of writing a story about Hodoro and Kudo becoming third years and the arrival of a transfer student. Springtime of youth. April is the beginning of the new school year. Also, check out this new semester visual poster. So, yeah, they decided like a new school year starts in April. Here we go. All right, so we're back to school now. So at least they're pointing it out. But yes, I agree. It was a little bit of like a restart here.
And Kayla,
Um,
not Kayla, Gotchard likes school entirely too much. That's what I learned from the beginning. Like he was throwing his own little solo party in the room of like, "Fuck yeah, senior year, let's go!" And I don't think anyone was that excited in high school ever.
no.
Like no one ever. Even if you love school, I feel like no one ever would have got to their classroom and been like, "Yeah!" and started screaming and getting hype and throwing a party. Because like the other people in the class at the time, a bunch of kids were playing cards. There was some mahjong tiles on one of the desks. Like no one wanted to be there. They're all doing fun side activities. And he's there going, "I want to learn. Teach me things."
It is totally in Hodoro's character though to be the most hype about senior year.
That's true.
Like, yes,
That's
we're
true.
here. We're gonna learn everybody. Where everybody else is having senioritis right off the bat. He's just like, yeah, school, it rocks. So yeah, we open. He's having so much fun. I really loved that Minato for some reason is still their homeroom teacher. Like that hasn't changed, even though they are now seniors. Uh, because it's also the same. Who cares? None of this matters. The fact that they're in school. Uh, but what does matter is that a new transfer student comes in. Her name is Tsukumo Seina, and turns out Seina and Hodoro grew up together. They've known each other since they were kids, and really from the very beginning, she starts hitting on him hard. She comes over, she grabs his hand, and she says that it's fate that they're meeting again. And he's like,
So
"Fate? What?"
this started my excuse me. There was a time when the Spanner Kudo uh, Gotchard love triangle was very irritating to me. And I got tired of seeing it. I got tired of hearing it. And now we're going to once again bring back the triangle, but at least it's like half for real now.
Yeah.
Like uh Hodoro's was kind of just in his own mind of "Hey, I think she likes Spanner. Well, she seems cool. I don't know about this." And Spanner was a mysterious dick at that point, so no one really knew. Uh, this one with Kudo suddenly catching the feelings that we've joked about, and that being her main character-driven moment the entire episode is kind of dumb. I mean, I know it's like a teen high school drama, but again, not a fan of this dumb shit. There's 20 other things they could be doing. We don't
See,
need
I
we
was
don't need
very okay
transfer
with it this
girls.
time. I was okay with it this time because unlike the last time, these two, meaning Kudo and Hodoro, like know each other now. Like they've really spent a lot of time together and they've gone through a lot together. So it would make more sense now that they're one of them is going to realize they have feelings for the other. And also, like we've commented on it before, like Kudo often will give Hodoro looks like she likes him. Like she's done that multiple times throughout the series now, where she gives him this look of just like, ah, it's
He,
always
he might
with
be
your bullshit.
okay.
Yeah. But really she's like grinning while she's like telling him he's on his bullshit again. So I feel like they've laid some of the groundwork for, you know, Kudo secretly likes Hodoro, but she hasn't yet realized it until this moment where all this jealousy springs up that she doesn't realize that she had.
It's
um,
fine, but it's dumb.
it is. I saw a lot of people on Twitter saying like this came out of nowhere. What are we doing? And that was my only gripe was like, well, it didn't. Like they started some of this from Hodoro's side at the beginning, and like they've kind of laid little hints here and there that it could be happening again. So it didn't feel like it was out of nowhere, but valid if you think that we shouldn't be doing it. But I don't know. I was into it. I liked that. I liked that it wasn't Hodoro who was like instigating any of it. Like he's just sort of like existing, and then it is purely Kudo kind of like coming to grips with the fact that she's she's being jealous. Like she like does she clearly doesn't want to be the jealous person, but is realizing that she is, and that was like a funny position to put herself in. Uh, so yeah, that all starts with the fate stuff, of course, and then later on, we really drive this home where the kids are up on the
The
rooftop.
whole time they really drive it home. Every
Yeah, the
scene
whole
Kudos in is her just moping about her not boyfriend.
that's true. That's true. Goto's whole character is kind of moping, though, if we're being honest. She's always moping about something. It's either her dad being dead, or it's her boyfriend now who she wanted but didn't get, or it's the fact that like Atropos said something mean to her. It's always something. It's always something. But Kajiki is telling Hodoro, Toby, that he's kept in touch with the girl that he met in Kyoto. If you remember their Kyoto vacation,
Oh, I do,
which
because that, that
I'm
that was where
very
the great haunted house scene came from. That's more of a
exactly.
mainstay in my brain than the ghost episode. Some would
I
say.
would say I would say that's also one of those weird episode arcs where you can say, "Wait, was Gotchard that series that did the weird ghost haunted house episode?" Like it's the same vibe.
Okay.
So it's sticking out for you. There you go. So I'm happy to hear that he's got his little girlfriend, and Kajiki wants Hodoro to experience the same love as well.
And he was all excited,
And
like, do you know what love is? Do you know how to handle love? It's a real thing, man. You gotta prepare for this. You gotta catch the vibes and do some work, and you gotta learn yourself.
I thought it was so funny this scene them talking because it felt like what adults would write and think kids would say as filtered through the lens of a kids TV show. Like it was perfect for what it was because it was so wholesome and so cute and so naive. And it was like, yeah, I mean, I guess that makes sense. It's not at all how kids would actually talk, like high schoolers would actually talk, but like when you think about it of adults writing for a kids TV show of what high schoolers would say, like sure, yeah, that's all fine. Uh but Kudo's about to come over and talk to the guys that she sees them, but she stops because Sana shows up, and Sana's just again flirting hard here, just like laying it on thick. This
She's
girl
just
is
excited that she's excited to see her friend.
she's excited to bone down on some Hodoro. That's all I'm saying. Uh then we cut over Toby to Atropos. I mentioned her earlier, and she's a little sad. She's watching a video of Garion dying, and she basically takes four of the, I don't know, little
The mummy dolls.
yeah, those little dolls, and merges them together to make a giant amalgam, and she gives it a chemicard. It's yeah, she creates a four doll amalgam to go out and wipe out all of the good guys.
I thought that scene where they had the dolls looking into the bowl and watching the video and having them like shake and talk like they were actual living things was fantastic. It was very
It was
good,
good.
like campy, shitty '80s horror movie vibes of like, hey, look, the puppets are alive and they can talk, and they just like kind of wobble back and forth with voices.
We've kind of compared this before, but it felt very Power Rangers, like it felt very Mighty Morphin.
Yes.
It felt like Rita's lab type deal, and yeah, it's a good vibe. Yeah, anytime, um, I think anytime Tokusatsu can do the like campy practical effect where it's so obvious that it's just, they're just shaking the thing to make it move or whatever, or like it's a puppet, um, but it still is convincing. Like that's just gold. Like they've nailed it whenever they can pull that off. So after we get done with our ominous scene with the Tropos, we cut back to the school, and it is time to pick a club. Clubs are very important
Wait,
in,
wait, before we do the clubs,
yeah.
is I couldn't really tell by the phrasing, and if we came up in the past, I might have missed it. Is the little girl is uh Euron, is he actually the little one's dad? Or does she
I
just
had
treat him as a father figure?
I had this written down to ask you the same question later because yeah, I think at this point in the episode she talks about like how much she cares about him, and then later she literally calls him her father. But I wasn't clear, yeah, on whether that's actually true or not. Like, is he actually like biological father or just sort of adoptive father type thing? And Kudo responds to that with shock. Like when Atropos says father, Kudo's like father, and I was like, did we not already know that? Is that
Yeah,
news? Uh,
I was really just confused because um it would at least tie more to why she hates Kudo so much, because Kudo has a dad.
yeah,
Like I feel like it makes their part of their infighting bickering make a little more sense because of the father figures for both of them. But I wasn't sure. I wrote the note now about, I wasn't sure of if he was actually her dad or not. So
yeah.
at this point already, I wasn't sure, and like it's one of those things where I definitely could have missed it back then, because she calls the little putties her brothers,
Yeah, yeah. And
and then
yeah, they reference them as brothers. Uh, so I'd always assumed that like whether he's real or not, like he's air quotes dad. But yeah, they presented it this episode as if it was a revelation. So I don't know.
maybe we all missed it. We need
It,
we
do-
need the
it
blog.
it doesn't feel shocking to me. That's all. That's all I will say is that it doesn't feel shocking. I will scan the 30 blog again and see if they say anything about that. But I don't think that they did. No, not that I really see. Um, but anywho, now we get over to the
Now it gets on to
clubs.
the clubs. The club show off hirings, recruitment things.
Yep. So they're going through the big presentations. We get the comedy club, as we mentioned before, comedy research club, featuring the members of Don Brothers cast, and then we get to see the drama club presentation. Comes from a man, boy by the name of Sukuru, and he's inviting everyone to join his club, and then all of a sudden he breaks down, he drops to his knees, and he's screaming, please join my club, please, please. Like he's clearly not in a good place. So Hodoro had mentioned before, or Hodoro and Kudo had mentioned before that he was in their class. So when they see this go on, where he clearly is in some kind of distress, they go and they visit him to make sure that he's doing okay. Turns out he's getting ready to put on Romeo and Juliet, but all of the other drama club members quit. So he's the only one left. He needs to recruit five more people, or the school will disband the club.
And luckily, thank God, there's just enough extra people in this merry band of misfits that they can staff the show.
Just enough extra people, and like, 3/5 of them still go to this school, so that's great.
I think it's funny that like I know they used, or presumably they're using Romeo and Juliet because they want to do the love arc
Yep.
triangle thing. I think it's hilarious that the kid's speech was basically, I saw Romeo and Juliet as a kid. I decided this was the future what I wanted to do. But like of all plays to see, decide this is like the path I want to take. Like watching one that teenage kids both commit suicide for each other seems like a wild play to watch, to be the motivation of like, I want to do this when I grow up. This is the best thing.
I guess it's a classic. Maybe it might impart on you, the gravity that a well acted role might portray. But yeah,
Everyone thinks they're Romeo and or Juliet. That's why I want to be suave like that. I want to be the main character.
yeah. Or maybe everyone has like a family that they want to murder, so and that's what really hit home. Yeah,
Hey, either way.
I know some Capulets. I'd kill them. Uh, so we explain the play here. Hodoro, of course, is instantly like, "Yeah, we'll help you. We'll get these 5 members. Let's get this going." And Sakura thinks that Hodoro should play Romeo, so instantly casts the lead. Hodoro first is like, I don't know, but okay, sure. Like, let's do it.
Always say yes. He lives by the improv rule of always say yes.
Yeah, Hodoro really yes-anded his way into playing Romeo. And then I loved this. Kajiki is like, okay, so Juliet's either you or me, Kudo.
they
I,
had they
I
had a,
love,
they had a grand old fight about it.
yeah, just love the idea that Kajiki would be like, obviously I'm in the running for for Juliet because why wouldn't I be? I mean, come on. And basically, just as Kudo is kind of like, kind of saying she'll do it, but having reservations about it. Sena, of course, comes in and says, "Then I'll do it," and as expected, is grabbing Hodoro's arm, and she's super excited about it, and they're gonna have to practice really hard, on and on and on. So
So,
once
but
again, Kudo has a chance to be jealous.
yeah, they could have shown all these things without hammering it home every 30 seconds for jealousy. But my favorite, it could be a translation thing, when they're talking to Kudo about if she wants to be Juliet or not. She says, "I don't want to be the main character." And I thought about it and I laughed right away because she's a secondary writer, and like that she's on this show and it's not really her show, but she's like almost the main character. And I was trying to figure out if that was just like ha 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 fourth wall breaking joke that they decided to phrase that way, or if it was just coincidence that I'm taking it that way or what.
I wondered the same thing too because I also took that line as humor and wondered if it was intentional. Because it's very funny if they did intend to do it that way, and if not, it's also still funny. But hopefully it was on purpose. But yeah, I feel like if Kudo was watching Gotchard, she would say she's the main character.
That's fair.
Next, of course, we cut back over to the academy. Minato is walking in to the academy classroom, and he sees Professor Kyoka and Lachesis, the abyssal sister who defected and helped him out. And he has like quite the little smile on his face when he first sees her, Toby. I don't know if you noticed that,
He
but
did. They have quite the crew going there now too.
they
They
do.
have all the best minds are there doing chemi stuff.
Turns out Kyoka has hired Lachesis as her assistant, because then she can like ask her questions about all these things. Minato thanks her for opening the gate to the Aurora Boreas realm, and yeah, seems like she's on the side of the good guys. Is what the vibe is right now. But before they can talk more, Toby, the ceiling of the academy breaks open, and Clotho dives in, and
I
she
was impressed.
is
She basically rider kicked her way through the ceiling to get
yeah,
into the room.
it was intense. Yeah, she's apparently pretty tough. She's begging Lachesis to return to them. Lachesis says no. She's like, remember Atropos like tried to kill me. She even says like, listen, she's not like us. She's different than you and I are." Um, but Lachesis, stops and thinks about that for like a moment, but then kind of like steals a resolve and says like, "Clearly they've been brainwashing you. Then they're poisoning your thoughts." So this leads to a fight. Clotho has the ability to henshin into Dread Type 3. So she puts on the full on bad guy suit. And as she does, Spanner shows up and Spanner picks a fight with her, says, you're not gonna fight my mentors. You're not gonna threaten my mentors.
We're warping to the parking deck.
Yeah, that scene was really great because yeah, he henshins, he runs at her, and it literally just like I think it like swipes over to the parking garage. No explanation of how we get there, but just fighting in the parking garage now, which is always fun when they do that like zero transition. Fight's pretty good because the Dread Type 3 armor is strong, but she, takes a lot out of you. She doesn't really have what it takes to run that armor for super long. So eventually Spanner manages to force her to dehenshin. And just as kind of he's about to land the big blow on her, um, Lachesis steps in. She basically steps in, blocks him, and asks Spanner to stop calling them freaks. And Spanner kind of course, is mad, tells her to step aside or they're both going down. And then
No,
Minato,
he said, "Move, or I'm taking you both down to hell." Because I thought the
down to
quote was awesome, so that's why I
down to hell.
made sure I remembered that one.
Spanner's very good at having like really badass quotes. But before anything can happen, Minato kind of whisks them away with some fog that he creates. So he leaves Clotho standing there, but takes all the rest of the people. And we don't see them anymore for the rest of the episode. So we don't know exactly what happened. But you know, I like the dynamic here where Lachesis is like on the side of the good guys, but still wants to save her sister. That can maybe lead to some interesting stuff going on.
the After they all fogged out, the sister that was still there did like the best blood curdling like death frustration scream ever. So I was impressed with the meltdown scream of like what the hell, losing
That's
her mind
solid.
kind of thing.
That's good. Back over at Kitchen Ichinose, we are asking Sabi, Maru, and Renge to join the drama club, and they definitely confirm that they're no longer at that school because they graduated, but they got special permission from Minato to join the drama club, which is so hilarious. This show cares so little about how high school actually works. Like, no one spend any amount of energy thinking about it because the show didn't, so it's fine. It's just a way to get these two involved in the plot. That's really what we're doing here. Sabi Maru and Ringe are not familiar with Romeo and Juliet. So Sukuru, the drama captain, explains it to them. He has this cool little like board and artwork that he kind of uses to tell them the story of Romeo and Juliet, which they also show to the audience, which is very funny that they spend
the
time in the episode to do that.
the cartoon animation style was so cool looking. Like I would watch an actual anime in that style if they had one. Like it was
Yeah,
very indie game, cool cutscene vibes kind of look. But I was really impressed with the art style they used for making the little movie within the show.
it was cool. Yeah, it felt like classic like American children's book mixed with anime, where it was like feel like I would have read a book that looked just like that growing up, except the characters were like a little bit more anime influenced. So it was a pretty cool vibe. Yeah, you don't see quite that exact style always. Um, but Hodoro's mom is giving them some drinks and she's kind of talking about the play and she assumes that Kudo is going to be Juliet because Hodoro is Romeo. But of course that's not true. Sana comes in right at that point and says that she is Juliet. Hodoro's mom recognizes her, so they have a little exchange about how they played all the time as kids. And then we find out that Sana even had Hodoro's mom promise that the two of them would get married one day.
And like, so this is the fifth, fourth or fifth, like indirect jab at Kudo to make the
Yep.
feelings get upset. And this was the point where I was like, I was just done with it. I mean, like, again, I'm sure it'll turn out remotely fine. It'll probably be a 2 episode arc like they all are. Uh, but they just keep hammering it home so much. And a little bit after this, when the girls kind of have like the quote unquote friend talk of, hey, do you actually like Hodoro? I'm not trying to step in here.
Yep.
Like, she's smart enough to recognize it might be an issue, but not after the fact that she was like, "Hey, Hodoro, remember we're gonna get married? Remember when me and your mom talked about that when we were little? Ha ha ha! Isn't that funny? Oh, kudos here. I don't care. Remember this funny story though? Like, she can't have it
Yeah.
both ways. Like, everything seems instigaty, and
Yeah.
there's times where when she's not with the group, like when they're watching the improv comedy troupe and the club signups, when the fake girlfriend is not part of the group, she does these weird scowls at everybody, where it seems like she's a setup from the Abyssal Sisters or something. Is still my overall vibe of her is that she was sent there by someone to do this stuff, and it wasn't just like a convenient transfer student vibe.
Yeah.
So it's hard to tell. I feel like she's just there to piss off Kudo.
Yeah, let me be clear. I think Sana sucks. I don't like her. I thought that the side of it from Kudo's side was interesting, but the character of Sana, I'm not into her at all. And I also, yeah, I totally get the vibe of like, is she just a plant? Like, is she here just to like poke and prod at Kudo? Like, who knows? I definitely think my read on the scene that you're describing, which comes up next, is she shows up at the park and basically says like, "Oh, are you and Hodoro like an item?" Because if not,
If
then
you
I'm
are,
gonna
I'll
go after him.
stop.
Yeah. I took that as like she knew that they weren't official, but that Kudo liked her, and she just wanted to go poke at Kudo. Like she wanted to like twist the knife, is how I took that. Because in that fight, so she shows up, they have that little exchange. Then Atropos shows up and ends up tying Sana up in chains and blaming it on Kudo. And Sana is like super quick to be like, "I knew it."
Oh yeah, and then I guess the funny thing too, like from the kitchen scene before we talk about like the meltdown at the end here. Everyone was like, "Whoa, Hodoro's number one, and Sana is 99." When you translate her name, like, "Oh, they add up to 100. That's so funny. Numerology, ha!" Like they're hammering it home too hard. They quote
Yeah.
unquote match or fit.
They even had Ringe have like a 2-second aside where she's like, "Man, even I couldn't compete with this girl. She's too perfect," or something like that. Which is great. So yeah, they're not ones for subtlety on this show. Um, if uh, if they want you to know that she likes Hodoro, they're gonna make sure you know. And yeah, if Kudo's gonna be jealous, they're gonna make sure you know that too. But yes, Atropos shows up. We have our little fight. Um,
She digs at Kudo many more times as always.
Many times,
Uh,
yeah.
it never seemed obvious before. I feel like it's a thing now. The way she phrases some of the things she says to Kudo makes it sound like she can read her mind or like read her thoughts more than just like, I see you're getting mad.
Yeah.
So I feel like maybe she has mad like extra powers that haven't been verbally addressed yet or something, but a lot of the bullying of Kudo of her this time seems more like, I can actually see inside your thoughts and I know why you're so angry right now, kind of thing.
Yeah, because she shows up, she definitely knows more than she should from just like rolling in, because she clearly knows the whole situation between these two girls, and she knows that Kudo's been bummed out. So yeah, like yeah, it's either like she can see her every waking moment and is very intuitive, or yeah, is can somehow read some thoughts or something.
Yeah, because
Or
like
maybe there's some link between the two of them that they haven't revealed yet or something like that too. Who knows?
same dad.
Yeah,
But
same
like,
dad
the
thing.
what like when they tie up the girlfriend, Atropos says like, "Kudo asked me to do this, you see, because you're in her way,"
Yeah.
and like that's obviously the vibe of the situation. That like obviously she never said it. Obviously, we all have seen Kudo's feelings and emotions about the whole situation, and then Kudo makes this pensive face, like the face she makes seems more like she knows that she's been found out, but like not
Yeah.
wording things. It just seems like she like just looked inside her and was like, "No, I can see how jealous you actually are." Because there's no way the sister would know. She wasn't really around for a lot of the feelings, and there's
Yeah.
lots of long lingering shots on Kudo's face during these conversations.
Yeah, that vibe was definitely from Kudo. She for first she's like, "No, no," and then she's like, "Well," and yeah, you get the then like you said shots of her actual like thoughts, and she's thinking back through the moments when she was jealous. So yeah, I don't know if they're insinuating that Atropos could see those things in her brain or what, but it definitely is like internal thoughts for sure for Kudo.
And as always, I just like that all of the Kudo bullying has once again turned into, "I'm going to kill your friends. I'm going to murder this person. This is all your fault. You know this is all your fault." And Kudo gets the same amount of sad every time.
Yep. Every time she's like, "You're right, it is my fault." Atropos keeps doing it because she knows that it gets to her. The four Malgam is pretty strong. Um, Eventually Hodoro shows up, fights it as well. Even the two of them have some struggles here. Eventually Kudo gets dehensioned, and
She's off her game. She's two in her own head.
she is, yeah. And this is when the I'm gonna kill you and avenge the death of my father happens,
Yeah, there you go.
and we're all shocked. That's pretty much, yeah, our cliffhanger for the episode. So yeah, maybe we'll get more into the father thing, maybe we won't, but that was interesting. But yeah, we continue to have this link with Atropos and with Kudo as well. They are intertwined.
In some way.
Yeah. I also think when Lachesis mentioned earlier, like Atropos isn't like us. Like maybe she was referencing like, oh, she's actually the daughter of Gary and you and I aren't, or something. It could be that too. That like they're not that she's not our real sister, or she's different in some way.
Yeah.
Interesting. All right. Any other final thoughts on the high school love episode?
As long as it ends next week, it's fine.
I think that it will. I think that it will. All right. Well, that is going to wrap it up for us for this week. As always, as I mentioned earlier, send us in emails, cast@commonwritersucks.com. And please check out the Patreon, patreon.com/the comment writers for all of the bonus content that we put out. At this point, there's quite a bit of it. We are currently watching Kamen Rider X-Aid and Boon Boomger. You get episodes of those every week. And like I said, next week we're going to check out the V Cinema for Kamen Rider Geek Geeks. That'll be our special release next week. So lots of fun stuff going on over on the Patreon. So go check that out. You can also keep up with Toby and I when we aren't doing the podcast. So Toby, where can the people find you?
On Twitter, it's at Life of Tobes, and on YouTube, it's Tobes Plays.
I'm on Twitter at PrettyDeeceJosh. YouTube is PrettyDeece, and Blue Sky is Meek.lol. So lots of fun stuff there. So that is going to wrap it up for us for this week. We'll be back next time to once again enroll in our high school drama club. But until then, have a great week, everybody. Peace.